that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. How are you? How are you? How are
Oh,
things?
great. Very good. Just a
Yeah,
little crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
I,
traveling at all this
not
summer?
really. I don't like to travel in the extreme heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I'm happy to stay close to home in the summer when everyone else is traveling and I don't have to. I have the luxury of being retired, so I can
that's
travel when
nice.
I want.
That's true.
That
Yeah,
is
find the
nice.
find the right times. Also, when you travel outside of the summer, it's less crowded, right? Like you
Oh
can go to
gosh,
places, so it's less
I
crowded.
did go to Montreal 2 weeks ago, and
Oh, that's nice.
it was nice and it was crowded.
Yeah.
It was fine, you know, but it was uncomfortably hot.
In Montreal.
Yeah.
Wow.
So walking around and doing things, we did a
Yeah.
lot of walking around and doing things, but it was
Yeah.
hot.
Which is kind of a little beyond the norm, right? Because I've been there in the
Oh
summer and it's
yes.
usually much cooler. It's feels very comfortable.
It was during the heat
The
wave,
heat
so
wave,
it was
yeah,
cooler up there than it was down here,
yeah, but
you know.
still very hot.
And it was fine. It was all tolerable and
Yeah,
doable, you know.
yeah. But it's a beautiful city.
Oh, it's such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's time to start.
You think so?
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's
Don't
do
we
it.
usually start like 2 minutes
Yeah,
after?
this is good. I'll start. I'll start the first song.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Betsy Cates, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 1064 in your teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
need the mic for those at home, not for those here. Good morning. My name is Terry Lucan, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. This morning, we'd like to extend a special welcome to our guests here and online from the FUSW. Thank you for sharing our worship this morning. Whether you've been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homeland of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger peoples. Whoops. And I have a special treat for you today. There are no announcements. But for the most weekly up-to-date information on anything, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you are present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee in the fellowship hall. If you're on the live stream, the link for the Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. And if you're just recently joining us and would like to receive our e-news, you can either email us at uucroton@gmail.com or fill out a yellow visitor's card in the pews, and we'll be sure you're added to the e-news list. Also, please remember to silence your cell phones. Once again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Our guest preacher this morning really needs no introduction. We are so happy to have Jane Podell in the pulpit today. Jane has served our congregation as Director of Religious Education, DRE, for the past 14 years. Before that, she served as DRE at the UU Fellowship of Poughkeepsie for 17 years. In addition to working half-time at UUCHV, she also holds part-time positions at the UU Congregation of the Catskills in Kingston as DRE, at Vassar College and at Vassar College as the weekend concerts supervisor. When do you sleep? Is that it? That is it. Yep.
Be here. So we're going to start off with our opening words. Nothing is Static by Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti. The ground shifts slowly sometimes like an earthquake, reminding us that the solidity we often love and seek is an illusion. The crumbling dust of the desert plains, the moist fertility of farmlands, the eroding coastline of tidal shores, all are changing. Committees dissolve or are formed. Leaders retire or step away. Bylaws are amended. New experiences lead to new truth, which foster evolution, the natural course of life, always pushing us toward greater understanding of what it means to be human. Everything about our existence points towards change, flexibility, and dynamic recreation. And it's hard because change involves loss. Can we hold the losses well while not holding ourselves back? The ground shifts, sometimes slowly, sometimes like an earthquake. Nothing is static. So as I listened to these words at GA, I found myself reflecting on our own congregation, One of the gifts of General Assembly is the reminder that we belong to something larger than our own congregation. Some UU communities are saying goodbye to their ministers. Others are searching for new homes. Still others are celebrating new beginnings. Our own congregation may be experiencing a season of greater stability, yet we too are part of a living faith that is always growing, always learning, and always becoming. Even in seasons of stability, we are continually invited to grow, to welcome new people, deepen our relationships, respond to the needs of our world, and discover who we are called to become. A congregation is never just a building. It's never just one minister. It's never just one moment in time. A congregation is people who continue to gather with love, with courage, and with hope. It is people who keep asking, who are we called to be now? Throughout our history as UUs, we have faced seasons of uncertainty. Again and again, our faith has shown that while the ground beneath us may shift, the values that ground us, love, justice, compassion, curiosity, community, remain. Maybe change is not only something to endure. Maybe it's also an invitation to discover strengths we didn't know we had, to imagine new possibilities, and to become a community we could not have imagined before. That spirit of hope was one of my strongest impressions from this year's General Assembly, and it's a spirit I'd like to share with you today. Now Betsy will light our chalice. Do you want me to read the words, Betsy?
Sure.
Okay. We light our flame to remind us love is our center. When we gather as a wider community, our eyes are opened to the work of our faith. Now, as General Assembly is behind us, may we bring that shared warmth, inspiration, and renewed commitment back home into the heart of this congregation. And now it's time for our affirmation, which we'll say in unison. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. So what I was going to say is, before our children leave for RE, but there are no children, but we're still going to hear this incredible story. The 3 Questions is based on a story by Leo Tolstoy and beautifully told by Meryl Streep. Although it was written for children, you will see its wisdom is timeless.
Tolstoy, written and illustrated by John J. Muth. There once was a boy named Nikolai, who sometimes felt uncertain about the right way to act. I want to be a good person, he told his friends, but I don't always know the best way to do that. Nikolai's friends understood, and they wanted to help him. If only I could find the answers to my 3 questions, Nikolai continued. Then I would always know what to do. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Nikolai's friends considered his first question. Then Sonia, the heron, spoke. To know the best time to do things, one must plan in advance, she said. Gogol, the monkey, who had been rooting through some leaves to find something good to eat, said, "You will know when to do things if you watch and pay close attention." Then Pushkin, the dog, who was just dozing off, rolled over and said, "You can't pay attention to everything yourself. You need a pack to keep watch and help you decide when to do things. For example, Gogol, a coconut's about to fall on your head." Nikolai thought for a moment. Then he asked his second question. "Who is the most important one?" "Those who are closest to heaven," said Sonia, circling up into the sky. "Those who know how to heal the sick," said Gogol, stroking his bruised noggin. "Those who make the rules," growled Pushkin. Nikolai thought some more. Then he asked the third question. "What is the right thing to do?" "Flying," said Sonia. "Having fun all the time," laughed Gogol. "Fighting," barked Pushkin, right away. Then the boy thought for a long while. He loved his friends. He knew they were all trying their best to help him answer his questions, but their answers didn't seem quite right. Then an idea came to him. "I know," he thought. "I will ask Leo the turtle. He has lived a very long time. Surely he will know the answers I am looking for." Nikolai hiked high up into the mountains where the old turtle lived, all alone. When Nikolai arrived, he found Leo digging a garden. The turtle was old, and digging was hard for him. "I have 3 questions, and I came to ask your help," Nikolai said. "When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do?" Leo listened carefully, but he only smiled. Then he went on with his digging. "You must be tired," Nikolai said at last. "Let me help you." The turtle gave him his shovel and thanked him. And because it was easier for a young boy to dig than it was for an old turtle, Nikolai kept on digging until the rows were finished. But just as he finished, the wind blew wildly, and rain burst from darkened clouds. As they moved toward the cottage for shelter, Nikolai suddenly heard a cry for help. Running down the path, he found a panda whose leg had been injured by a fallen tree. Carefully, Nikolai carried her into Leo's house and made a splint for her leg with a stick of bamboo. The storm raged on, banging at the doors and windows. The panda woke up. "Where am I?" she said. "And where is my child?" The boy ran out of the cottage and down the path. The roar of the storm was deafening. Pushing against the howling wind and drenching rain, he ran farther into the forest. There he found the panda's child, cold and shivering on the ground. The little panda was wet and scared, but alive. Nikolai carried her inside and made her warm and dry. Then he laid her in her mother's arms. Leo smiled when he saw what the boy had done. The next morning the sun was warm. Birds sang and all was well with the world. The panda's leg was healing nicely, and she thanked Nikolai for saving her and her baby from the storm. At that moment, Sonia, Gogol, and Pushkin arrived to make sure everyone was all right. Nikolai felt great peace within himself. He had wonderful friends, and he had saved the panda and her child. But he also felt disappointed. He still had not found the answers to his 3 questions, so he asked Leo one more time. The old turtle looked at the boy. "But your questions have been answered," he said. "They have?" asked the boy. "Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig my garden, you wouldn't have heard the panda's cries for help in the storm. Therefore, the most important time was the time you spent digging the garden. The most important one at that moment was me. And the most important thing to do was to help me with my garden. Later, when you found the injured panda, the most important time was the time you spent mending her leg and saving her child. The most important ones were the panda and her baby. And the most important thing to do was to take care of them and make them safe. Remember then that there is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you are with. And the most important thing is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. For these, my dear boy, are the answers to what is most important in this world. This is why we are here. Such an
Time that I'm going to tell This is the time that I tell children to head out to RE. And what I was going to say is I wanted to ask all of them to carry those 3 questions into the week ahead. What is the best time? Who is the most important person? What is the right thing to do? As the story reminds us, the time is now. The person is the one before us, and the right thing is to care for one another. Okay.
Oops. That was beautiful, wasn't it? Amazing coincidence. I read that book yesterday afternoon. Somebody gave it as a gift to the person whose memorial service I was at, that I was going to talk about, joys and sorrows. So, yeah, whew, my goodness. Okay, so no children to be sung out. So I guess it's the time in our service for joys and sorrows. We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged as well. We release our first stone to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and depression all around our world. We release our second stone because we understand that amidst all that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward to briefly tell us of your joy or sorrow, and then release a stone into the vessel. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys and sorrows, and I will release a stone for you. Please remember that your joys and sorrows are being shared on the live stream and in the broader virtual community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Pearl. Hope you can see me. So I have a joy to share. Last week, my husband and I were up in northern Massachusetts to help take care of our 8- and 6-year-old grandchildren. 2 of our 3.5 grandchildren, and their babysitter. So that's another joy. Their babysitter is on vacation, so we were up there to help out, and it's the first time that they asked us to do this, and we were thrilled to be asked, and we had a wonderful week with them. It was a great bonding experience with the kids. When we left, they were asking me why we couldn't live up there, why we can't live closer to them and see them more often. So I said, well, now that Nana's retired, we can come and visit more often. An additional joy that I alluded to a moment ago is that my middle son, so this is my oldest son's kids, my middle son is also expecting his second child, and he and his wife, of course. And last but not least, when we were up in Massachusetts, I got to visit the Unitarian Church in Haverhill, which is like one town over from where we were in West Newbury. And their babysitter is a member of that church, so that's how I found out about it. And that was very joyful as well. Anyway, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Can't believe it.
I'm Daria. I think everybody here knows me, at least by face. We've started our postcard campaign, and today people came before service, and I encourage you to come after service to help us put together the packets with 10 postcards in each one, because we have a total of 4,000 postcards to get written one way or the other. We're lucky that White Plains UU and the 4th UU up in Mohegan Lake, and hopefully Hastings are writing. They've taken each 500 postcards, so that we're making a dent. So if you want to come and help, it's a little confusing, but it's not that confusing. Come afterwards and help us put the packets up together. Thank you. And I think grandchildren are the best.
Good morning. My name is Pam Kulber-Zika. I will try to make this as brief as possible. I went to visit my dad in Los Angeles last Friday. He was trying to escape the heat from Denver, went to Venice Beach. Tuesday, I'm getting all these alerts, beautiful weather in California. Your flight is delayed. We're watching the weather. And I'm watching the news going, I'm not going to go home they wound up canceling my flight, but I was able to schedule a flight for Wednesday. So I get to the airport, and about a half an hour before boarding, they said, we're overbooked. I was like, well, what does that mean? They said, well, we will give you a substantial amount of money to be inconvenienced on a red eye. I was like, okay. And it went up to $1,200 from $500 because people didn't want to give up their seats. So I went to $1,200. I was in the airport from 10:30 to 8:30 p.m. Every hour that went by, I'm like, who can I donate this part of this money to? And I made a list. The old me would have been really selfish and spent it on something completely ridiculous for myself, but being here and being on a spiritual growth journey has really changed my way of thinking. And so I have a list, and this church is, or this Unitarian is on the top of my list to donate from that money. And thank you.
So I'm Maddie. I need you to share a big sorrow. My closest friend in the world, who's the painter of the two pieces that are over here on the wall, died 26 days ago, and she was everything to me. She was my mentor. She was my confidant. She inspired my every key life event that involved building a family, finding the right career. These were all things that she was instrumental with, and she inspired me to see the artist in myself. She was just an amazing, amazing person, and the loss is really, really still very surface for me. So I just ask that you share that with me, and I'm going to learn how to live with this. I'm sure I can learn from many of you. Thank you.
So this week was the one-year anniversary of our son, Brian, 32, who had a sudden cardiac arrest on the beach in Cape Cod. And he had a defibrillator put in a couple of months afterwards. And the joy is it hasn't gone off, and he's doing really well. And they have another baby on the way due in December.
The first stone is for the most joyous and beautiful and heartfelt celebration of life yesterday at the home of our dear friends Art and Annie. Art passed away suddenly about 2 months ago, and there were more than 150 people reminiscing and taking in the beautiful day and eating his favorite food, wood-fired pizza. And it was a beautiful and casual and fun and great afternoon, of which he would have heartily approved, and we miss him. That's for Art. My second stone, my husband Peter is finally having his surgery on Tuesday. It's actually a spinal surgery, which sounds terrifying, but we hope it's going to bring him relief from years of pain and discomfort and debilitation in his arms and hands. So that was for Pete. And we release one final stone. Oh, sorry, Ginny. Of course not. Come up.
Hi, I'm Ginny Stillman. Yesterday, I had the sorrow and joy to participate in a vigil in Ossining, commemorating the lives of Lorenzo and Johan, 2 immigrants who were recently killed by ICE. There were about 75 people who turned out for the vigil. We had some wonderful music. We had some wonderful prayers, moments of silence, and incredible collection of 68 small framed pictures of 68 people who have been killed either in detention centers or by ICE in the past year. and there were pictures of them with their dates of birth and death in these small picture frames. It was just very, very, very moving. I had a joy last week. Jim and I visited the Unitarian Church in Hastings. We had a wonderful visit, got to meet some fellow Unitarians, and just want to share, if you have a chance, go down sometime and see what their service is like. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Maria. And I just want to say that I am here, and I'm thankful for that, very grateful. You're here, and I'm grateful for that. And I have a dear friend whose husband 2 weeks ago had a very bad fall at home. He was alone. And so after all the adventure to get him to hospital, he had to develop a deep gash across his forehead, and there was blood everywhere in their home. So anyway, he was released, and then he developed seizures. So the last time I saw him was Friday, I believe. They were in hospital. He seems lucid enough, and I did say that I would be available to be of any assistance. I have not heard, and I don't want to hover over them as they are very busy dealing with him and family and such. So I do ask the community to send lovely, lovely energy. And also, happy to say that as I was seated there being read to, I have to say that I felt like a little girl. And then I envisioned, I don't know how many of you felt like a child as you were being read to, but I thought, what if all of us got up and went to that little room and started gonging away like little children? That's how I felt, so I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
Now we release one final stone for all those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed, and for those outside of our walls who are searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and be received with love.
I'm just going to bring you a little bit of the business part of General Assembly. I hope you got that flyer that came with your order of service. It gives all the details of everything that happened at GA at the business meetings. But the one that I'm going to address is the one action of immediate witness that did not get adopted. Everything else went through. So one of the GA delegates up at UU Catskills, the other congregation I worked for, wrote a few words explaining what happened. He wrote it for the newsletter, and I just wanted to share it because it really explained really well why it was not adopted. He writes, his name is Sterling, and he writes, "I'm not the most patient person, so I was honored but not excited to represent UU Catskills at our General Assembly. But this series of business meetings held over 3 days simply wowed me. The agenda was packed with meaty issues and facilitation was top-notch. Commitment to ongoing evolution was demonstrated by process observers who reported back at the end of each session. As someone who is queer and trans, I was delighted to see how many of our leaders are also queer and trans, as well as people of color. Strife emerged because governing by our values is a process each of us is continually living into. One rocky session debated support for hunger strikers protesting outside an ICE facility in New Jersey. This action of immediate witness was voted down after compelling debate, not because the focus was unworthy, but because the action was not grounded in relationship with the people coordinating on the ground there, and with those most affected. The debate did not blame the missteps of the proposer, who is new to UU governance work, but it called out and rejected savior complex, which is often part of white supremacy. The national organization is grappling with the same issues that were elevated in UU Catskill's recent listening circles. Folks wanted greater clarity of roles, accountability, and meaningful engagement, even with significantly greater resources than we possess locally. These longings are no easy lift. But I came away from these meetings hopeful for the future of our national body, eager to dig into the resources they provide, and confident that we too can build ever more supportive communities right here at home. And now we're going to sing hymn number 1053 in your teal hymn book, How Could Anyone? So each year, the UUA president extends an invitation to a prestigious guest to captivate the General Assembly as the esteemed Ware Lecturer. This year, the UUA president's Ware Lecture invitation went to Bishop Marianne Edgar Buddy. You might remember Bishop Marianne Buddy. She gained national attention when the National Prayer Service, following Donald Trump's second inauguration, she appealed to the president to have mercy on transgender children and immigrant families. Her remarks sparked a widespread national conversation about the role of faith leaders in speaking to moral issues. It is the same voice of moral courage and compassion that you'll hear in the excerpts from her Ware lecture. I'm actually going to show you two clips. And so we'll start off with the first clip, and when that clip's over, I'm going to just fast forward to the second clip.
Well, thank you, President Bentancur, for such a lovely introduction, for the invitation to be here this year's Ware Lecture, and thanks to all who have worked so hard to make this event possible. It's a tremendous honor to be with you. I hope that the General Assembly has been fruitful, and I pray that you have been renewed in your charism as Unitarian Universalists that unites you across distance and difference. I'm here because I believe in you. I can testify to the importance of your witness across the broad spectrum of spiritual expression, and I give thanks to God for you. The theme for this year's assembly, Meet the Moment, Together Everywhere, has particular meaning for me personally for two reasons. First, the call to meet the moment is one that I feel deeply. Across the country, you can also feel a collective determination to do the same. Not that any of us wanted this, wanted to be here. We would never have chosen to live through what we are experiencing. The systematic, well-funded effort to purge our country of non-white immigrants, to dismantle the pillars of democracy, and weaken the social fabric upon which all that is good depends. And it's difficult to read the news, for each day brings a fresh shock of something we can't wrap our brains around. And those of us who live in the Washington, D.C. metro region, we have front row seats to the damage being done that doesn't make headlines, and it's beyond sobering. The agencies dismantled, the federal libraries and historical records purged, regulations meant to rein in corporate greed swept away, rampant corruption, the recklessness of those waging war in our name. But here we are. This is our time. And like you, I find courage and inspiration in gatherings like this assembly. I find inspiration in the courage in the people I know and admire, and also from the stories of our sacred texts, our history, and literature. For whenever history places people in circumstances they would never have chosen, our wisdom traditions never dwell long on the question, why is this happening? Instead, they ask, who are you called to be now? In the Jewish Bible, there's the story of Esther, the young Jewish woman who, through circumstances beyond her control, finds herself in the court of a Persian king ruling over Israel. And when horrific plans to eradicate the Jewish people from Persia comes to light, Esther's uncle, as you recall, sends word to Esther pleading with her to use her position for good. She protests for good reason. She has seen how any woman in the court who dares even to speak up is put to death. And her uncle replies with words that reverberate across time and space to us. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to your royal dignity for just a time as this. Then there's Frodo Baggins, the reluctant hero of Tolkien's classic trilogy, Lord of the Rings, the young hobbit, chosen by the wise wizard Gandalf for an impossible mission. He's to carry a ring with magic powers through all manner of danger to the one place it can be destroyed before it falls into the hands of one who would use it to destroy the earth. And in that exchange that has inspired readers for generations, Gandalf exhorts Frodo to have courage. The ring came to you for a reason, Gandalf tells him. There's comfort in that. I wish the ring had never come to me, Frodo despairs. I wish this had never happened. And so do all who live in such times, Gandalf replies. But while we cannot choose the times in which we live, we can choose how to respond to the time we are given. To which Frodo replies, I will take the ring, but I do not know the way. Meeting the moment means choosing how to respond in the time we are given with courage, even if we don't know the way. Which brings me to the second reason your assembly theme resonates with me, from the latter clause of it, together everywhere. In my nearly 40 years of ordained ministry in the Episcopal Church, whenever the faith communities I have served have felt summoned to meet a given moment, we would invariably find ourselves in the good company of Unitarian Universalists. Most recently, in Minneapolis, last January, when nearly 1,000 faith leaders from across the country answered the call to join those resisting the federal government's assault on immigrants and citizens alike. That's where I first met your good president, alongside hundreds of Unitarian Universalists who came to pray, to walk in frigidly cold weather, engage in disobedience, and provide moral and spiritual support to a state under siege. Yet in far quieter circumstances, without the attention of the media or anyone else, Unitarian Universalists across this country are among those to meet whatever the moment requires, the first to show up, to speak up, and embody truths that others, in time, will come to embrace. In the work of social justice and inclusion, Unitarian Universalists are almost always among the first. The first, going first, is your gift, your vocation, and your strength. And why is that, do you suppose? Surely one factor is your unwavering commitment to the dignity of every human being and an unqualified commitment to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Your spiritual principles are breathtakingly aspirational and rooted in what the Jesuit priest Gregory Boyle describes as our unshakable goodness. And it's not that other spiritual traditions, including mine, don't affirm these principles. We do. But we don't lead with them as clearly and as consistently as you do. On my reading list in preparation for this evening was the most recent edition of the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide. I love that. It's a beautiful articulation of your common life. And here is but one of the dozens of passages I highlighted. We move mountains, one stone at a time. As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves, and to transform the world. Universalism means that no one is outside the circle of love, and no one is disposable. We stubbornly seek out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. In closing, I'd like to speak to you about hope. Given the moment that is ours to meet, we need a sturdy, resilient hope that enables us to persevere in the face of adversity and disappointment. Hope that, in the words of the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, gives us eyes to see glimpses of light amid the darkness. And when we see no light at all, to trust that light still exists. We need hope that does not deny difficulty or danger, nor minimize disappointment or loss, but is not stopped by any of those things. The great naturalist and environmental advocate Jane Goodall described this kind of hope as humanity's survival trait. Without it, she said, we will perish. There's a dimension to this kind of help that is akin to spiritual practice. It's an intentional commitment to be a hope bearer through thick and thin. And this practice of hope has become increasingly important for me as I get older. Because the last thing the generations coming up behind, those of us who are elders now, the last thing they need is our cynicism and despair. We need to be wind in their sails, holding fast to all that is good, providing places of respite and encouragement, giving sacrificially of our time and our resources, and keeping the light of faith burning for them, just as our spiritual forebears did for us. And there is for me as well a dimension of resistance to this hope, a choice that I make every day to live in hope no matter what, and to stand firm to the best of my ability when the dominoes around me fall. And we can't keep this deeper hope alive on our own, or at least I know that I can't. And thankfully, we don't have to. Because hope, like courage, is both mysterious and communal. It's contagious. It passes through and among us like electricity, helping us to accomplish, as the Apostle Paul wrote, far more than we could ask for or imagine. I once heard a radio interview with the novelist and essayist Marilynne Robinson, one of my great literary heroes, and the journalist asked her what gave her hope. And as she responded, it was immediately clear that in her tone and manner of speaking, that this was a woman not easily shaken. And she said, "I often remind people that we are a peculiar species with a long history of doing injury to ourselves and to one another. But just as there was no reason to throw up our hands during the 30 Years' War, I don't see any reason to do so now." Now, I confess that her reference to the 30 Years' War, I remind you, was a brutal conflict in the 17th century in Europe, one of the most violent in human history, apparently. That reference took me by surprise. But her point was simply this, that if you're looking for reasons to give up on humankind, there was ample justification for doing so long before the atrocities of our time. But equally true, and more important, if you're looking for something to give you hope, there is always reason for hope. And Robinson was unequivocal. Our hope lies, as it always has, in the example of other people throughout our history and in our own time, who, inspired by grace, refuse to give up on what is best in us. And sometimes, to our amazement, we are the ones carrying hope for another, even when we don't feel it ourselves. My dear Unitarian Universalist friends, you are hope bearers for us all. Please remain true to your vocation, your charism, your gift of refusing to give up on what is best in us. And I leave you with one more expression of hope, this one from a phenomenon in the natural world that is known as refugia, or refugia, I suppose. I first came across it in a book by Deborah Reinstra entitled Refugia Faith. And she begins with a description of Mount St. Helens, the active volcano in Washington state when it erupted in 1980. The debris and ashfall from the volcanic blast devastated the mountain and its surroundings for miles, crushing, burning, killing, coating everything in hot ash. Scientists and residents alike assumed that it would take generations for life to return. But that's not what happened. Within a few years, the mountainside was teeming with signs of new life. How? Reinstra explains that when the mountain blasted ash and rock across the landscape, The devastation passed over some small pockets nestled under rocks and burning trees. These were tiny pockets of safety, of refugia, where plants and creatures could hide from destruction. And when the time was right, when it was safe, from these hidden shelters, new life emerged. Refugia is such a powerful image of what we can do now when so much is being destroyed. We can be about the work of refugia, creating pockets of safety, of resilience, protecting as many people and institutions as we can, so that new life will be ready to emerge when this political storm passes. And it will pass. Not on its own, but because, as the wizard Gandalf reminded Frodo at the beginning of his journey to save the world, there are other forces at work in the universe, Frodo, besides the forces of evil. And it will pass because of Unitarian Universalists and others across this country who rose up together everywhere to meet the moment that is ours. Thank you for leading the way.
So these words stayed with me when she said, the last thing the generations coming up behind those of us who are elders, the last thing they need is our cynicism and despair. We need to be wind in their sails. As I listened to Bishop Buddy, I realized she wasn't simply praising UUs. She was reminding us of who we are called to be. She described us as hope bearers, people who are often among the first to show up, to speak up, and to hold fast to the dignity of every human being, even when the way forward isn't clear. I was especially moved by her reminder that hope is not naive optimism. Hope doesn't deny loss or pretend everything will work out easily. Instead, hope is a daily choice to keep believing that love is stronger than fear, that justice is worth pursuing, and that even in difficult times, we can become places of refuge where new life can begin. Maybe that's why she ended with the image of refugia, those small places protected during the eruption of Mount St. Helens, where life quietly survived until it could flourish again. I couldn't help but think that our congregations are called to be refugia for one another. Communities where hope is nurtured, where courage is strengthened, and where the light is kept burning until others can see it too. And I loved how she returned to Gandalf's words, we cannot choose the time we live, but we can choose how we respond to the time we have been given. None of us would have chosen many of the challenges before us today, but we can choose how we will meet them. If Bishop Buddy is right, and I believe she is, we meet them as hope bearers. And now we are going to sing hymn 123, Spirit of Life.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by the community. Today's offering will be shared with, I'm sorry? UUSJ. In the order of service. Thank you. It is in the order of service. You can refer to the order of service for the information that I am not finding right now. But it's in there. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. The offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
At GA, one of the closing words at one of the worship services was called Trough by Judy Brown. There is a trough in waves, a low spot where the horizon disappears, and only sky and water are our company. And there we lose our way unless we rest, knowing the wave will bring us to its crest again. There we may drown if we let fear hold us within its grip and shake us side to side and leave us flailing, torn, disoriented. But if we rest there, in the trough, are silent, being with the low part of the wave, keeping our energy and noticing the shape of things, the flow, then time alone will bring us to another place where we can see the horizon, see the land again, regain our sense of where we are and where we need to swim. So, my friends, we are in this together, in this little boat together. We are making our way, and we are bringing the life-saving, life-giving, sustaining values of this faith into the world. Let us embody our love. Thank you, friends.